Welcome to another episode of our Beyond the Numbers interview series, where we talk to Valley leaders about what advice they would have for themselves if they could go back and why they love accounting. Today, we're speaking with Heather Lowe. Heather is the VP of Accounting and Finance at BWH Hotels, one of their brands you may know as Best Western. So I was excited Heather said yes. I've known Heather for a while. She's the only person that we've spoken with that has worked in another country. I think it was 8 years she spent in the UAE. Is that right, Heather?
Yeah, it was almost 10 in the UAE, both in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Okay, nice. So I think that will give her a little bit of a different flavor on her answer. So are you ready to get going, Heather?
Yep.
Okay. So tell us, if you could go back to when you were that staff or senior accountant, what advice would you have for yourself?
I think if I had it to do over again, I would lean into the opportunity to work with a mentor. Of course, I had some informal mentors when I was starting out, but I don't feel like I really took control of the direction I wanted my career to go, probably until I got to Dubai, which was, probably 8 years in. I was probably out in the workforce, probably 8 years in. I was very lucky that I started out following my public accounting experience in an industry that was growing our company. We didn't have enough people to do the work, so there was no shortage of opportunities for me to take on additional responsibilities and additional scope. But that was more out of necessity than me really driving towards my interests and using that opportunity to gain the experiences that I would need to prepare me for the next role that I really wanted. So it worked out great for me, but I think if I had it to do all over again, I would lean into leveraging my coworkers and my folks in senior positions that have been through it to really help me navigate kind of those early days of my career. And it worked out great because I did get to go overseas, as you mentioned, and had a lot of varied experience, public, private, etc. But when I look back, it was a lot of luck that I kind of wound up in roles early on that I really enjoyed.
Okay. At what point in your career did you decide I want to move out of the U.S. and go somewhere else and work?
When I got the job offer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It worked out even.
I grew up very, in a small town in North Dakota, so it wasn't really something that I had opened my mind to. And it just so happened that when my time at 𝗨𝗄lte, of course, is a national home builder, when my time there was coming to an end in the 2008 timeframe, which probably don't need to go into anymore, I started looking for jobs. I just happened to kind of be in the right place at the right time. And when I got the offer, and it started to feel very real, and I just kind of went for it. So it wasn't orchestrated whatsoever, other than saying yes to the interview and trying really hard to step out of my comfort zone and do things that that are challenging and unknown, that type of thing. But yeah, it was not orchestrated at all, surprisingly.
Because that is out, if you think of like the typical accountant, doing something like that is definitely out of your comfort zone, and then moving over there. Would you do it again? Like, would you recommend somebody doing it?
Yeah. My husband and I have actually talked about it. Like, if the opportunity came up, would we go back? I definitely think 10 years at the time was long enough. We had a lot of reasons for returning back to North America, but just the opportunity to travel and experience other cultures. Even on my team, as a manager, I had 20 different nationalities that I was directly or indirectly supervising. So just getting to the opportunity to ask questions and learn about other cultures and how to tailor my communication style to be effective on a less homogenous population, I guess, was a great learning for me too, that I was able to really take away and apply since I've been back, definitely.
And it didn't hurt your career. I mean, you still were able to promote, progress, come back, and nobody said, oh, you haven't worked in the U.S. for 10 years, we're not going to hire you. It seemed like it was more of a seamless transition out and back.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't know if it was because of the geography or just the company and the situation I was in, but I think it really advanced my career. I moved into a CFO role, smaller company, but a CFO role, in my early 30s. So I wasn't ready for the position, but I had a great, the CEO was an amazing mentor to me, and, gave me the opportunity to learn on the job and things like that. So I actually think it really helped my career. Coming back, it was a little bit hard to know what type of role to target. But overall, for the most part, I think I found that, when exploring other opportunities, they've been really intrigued by that, especially just because it was the Middle East, and have found it to be really advantageous, in terms of my just broad experience, I guess.
All right. So next question, either why do you love accounting, or what value has accounting added in your career?
First, I'll have to say I love accounting. I've loved accounting since the first day of Accounting 101. I love the debits and the credits and the organization of it. I welcome days at work when I get to grab my blank piece of paper and do T accounts, but I don't do that much accounting anymore. I review a lot of financial information and use it to, give financial advice or talk through, business discussions with my colleagues and peers. But I do love it. I think probably more focused on the value it's given me in my career, just because I've gone, a little bit away from it. It's such a transferable skill. I've had a wide variety of industries in my background, and, you can, find very niche accounting and finance roles and kind of stick to an industry, but it's so transferable, and you learn, business through financial statement, analysis and that type of thing. So it's really broadened my scope when I have been looking for new opportunities or new geographies or whatever the case may be. So, just enabling me to be like a really effective business partner, business advisor, within my peer group, and building trust and, being a part of the leadership team, I guess.
If you're talking to somebody, let's just say you're a mentor to somebody at that staff or senior level, and they want to be promoted, what would you tell them, is one thing that they could do right now in order to help them get promoted to that next level?
I think, first of all, two things. One, I would talk to whoever's responsible for that decision and try and understand where they sit today in terms of the skills that they have or need to develop in order to be considered for that next role. I think, you can sit there and guess and think you're doing a really great job at your scope, but unless you know really what the criteria are, what the, maybe a soft skill, maybe you're a really good accountant, but they're really looking for leadership, and that's something that, you may need to develop. I think just really understanding what you actually need to do in order to get there is a great way, and then working out a plan, either with, your boss or your mentor, to put yourself in a position to be considered for that role by gaining those skills. I think in more general terms, always seeking opportunities to do something outside of your day-to-day. You kind of want to start to do the job you want before you get the job you want, in order to also kind of put yourself in the minds of those that are responsible for those hiring and promotion decisions as well. I found that to be, more than anything, just being someone who's willing to help and learn and demonstrate that capability to learn outside of the skills you have today bodes really well for those evaluations when someone's making those decisions.
Okay. So saying yes to opportunities and volunteering for projects, but also having that conversation with your hiring manager. They might not be approaching you, but if you want to be promoted, you need to be talking to them about their expectations.
I think so. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of staff and senior accountants today are afraid to approach their bosses, but
I was as well. Very shy, and I came from the school of, you don't want to inconvenience anyone. You don't want to take up their time. But I found, with age, that most people love to help, and when someone seeks out advice and wants to grow, most people are perfectly willing and happy to assist.
That's a great point, right? Most people do want to help. All right, Heather, we appreciate your time today. We appreciate everybody watching, and stay tuned for another episode next week. Thank you.